this shit you're talking about, the birth defects, there's no difference between ours and, like, if you want to do the whole fucking noble savage bullshit, there's no difference between water supplies that have fluoride in, like fluoride mixed in with the water compared to places with fucking like malaria in the water and shit.
Send me the research, because I would like to read that. Because there's very easy, I won't say it's easy, but there are, because the American population is not educated enough in science to actually be able to read this shit, they just take the expert's word, which is nice, but when you can't trust the expert, or you're suspicious because you can actually read the literature, a lot of these conclusions that are arrived at, if you give someone that's an expert and you give them an agenda, they can say whatever the fuck they want, because it's the same thing as discussing law. There's certain, you can debate anything. You can debate either side of it. Science is supposed to be done where the results are mimicked everywhere, so that you don't have to debate sides of it. No, it's either this or it isn't. And then the thing with aspartame being diet, the sugar substitute aspartame,
Mm-hmm.
the fucking government allowed that to go through, yet it was proven to kill people. It is harmful to humans.
I mean, I don't know about kill people. I mean, it gives people cancer, but I mean, not everybody dies.
So you're telling me that influencing the rate of cancer, increasing it, is a good thing?
I mean, it keeps the population down.
Exactly. This is what I'm getting at. Like, but you don't need to die. You don't need to have it. Instead, you're even paying for your own quicker death.
I mean, maybe those people should read these fucking studies you're talking about. And maybe those people are
Well,
the
part
people
of the
who
problem is
deserve
that
to die.
the government's job is to protect the people that are within that are supporting the government, and it doesn't do that.
I mean, but these people voted for that government.
No, as you know, that most elections are like 52% one way and 48 another, something like that.
Yeah, but that's the majority of the people, is it not? That's 51% of the people.
Yeah. And then you still have elected officials and then things like that impact this stuff. But like, you initially went, oh, you're an alarmist, you're crazy. And then after getting past that, you told me that no, I actually saw these studies where there was no definitive proof about anything with this thing. It didn't change rates or anything.
Well, there isn't. It's literally like the exact argument, like anti-vaxxers and this shit. It's like literally the exact fucking same thing.
Yeah, but how come when you give fluoride and into the brain of a rat, it'll fuck up the rat to be
Because rats are
stupid?
fucking retarded.
No, there was a control where you didn't put fluoride in the rat's brain, and then there was a study and then the other group, to find out if fluoride does anything, they added fluoride to the rat. And the rat that had fluoride didn't want to do anything, it was lethargic, it was stupid.
What'd the other rat do? It's probably just as lethargic and stupid as the rat.
No, it is a relative term for the laziness of the rat was much more in the fluoride one, significantly more, greater than 50%. Greater than 50% in the metrics that they measured that
Why was it like that?
determined the impact. See, this is where I'm getting at, where you have to look at the study to realize, oh, the study was created to prove this point, not to not to test a hypothesis, but rather to prove an agenda. And again, I can argue that for both ways, but the way that you're supposed to do it is you have a hypothesis and you test it as methodically as possible. You is it right or wrong hypothesis. If it's wrong, or there's more to work on it, you do another study based on it to answer the next questions. But that's not what the mainstream media will portray or any of that. Instead, the scientist gets their one couple weeks of fame and then they're fucking forgotten about.
Why is that? Because they're Jews?
What?
The media.
Well, the media is in control with whoever's paying them.
So how come they keep pushing this Black Lives Matter agenda? Who's paying for that? Black people don't have money.
Exactly, George Soros. You saw President Obama. People that want to have the anarchy happen are paying for it. I would consider them the establishment on both sides. The Republican and Democratic, as well as foreign nationals paying for it, like George Soros. George Soros was trying to impact Brexit. He failed. Like, this is what we don't want to see in our own country, but it's what goes and flies and is okay around the world. This is the only country that actually is by the people. And then based on who's president, who's in those key positions, you could actually overrule the people. And then using information sciences, like all the sociology shit that came about after World War II, based on what Hitler was doing, and Hitler was financed by Western institutions apparently, is just like, so the West really financed Germany. Like, I've always questioned, how the fuck did Hitler rise, and how the hell did he get his country out of a huge economic depression so that he can start another war and actually win the first year or two? How the fuck did that happen? Someone had to give him money. Because they didn't have the resources
that's
for
not a
that.
well-guarded fact. Like, Henry Ford was like one of the biggest contributors to the Nazi Party. That's not a groundbreaking
No, but they don't
thing.
do that in school. In
I
fact,
mean, I don't know where you went. Yeah, they do.
exactly. This is the problem. This is what I'm getting at. I was not taught anything about World War II besides Hitler was fucking bad. It started with an assassin. World War I started with an assassination. World War II, I don't even remember. Hitler invaded somewhere, and everyone went
Poland.
crazy. And it was about the West placating the Hitler, just giving into his demands. And then eventually Hitler was like, fuck it, this is a good time as any to attack. He attacked. And you could see it happening in this country where Black Lives Matters is trying to become like Obama's arm, his own private military. Why else would, like, you look at the rest of the world, there's only 3 nations that have the First and Second Amendment of the Bill of, well, the First and Second constitutional rights, freedom of speech of all forms, and right to bear arms. There's only 3 nations. This one, Mexico, which is failing with it, and one of the L things in Africa, which was founded by Black Americans. So there's only 3. And while I like to think that I'm really smart, I read The Prince, and I tend to believe a lot of Machiavelli's observations where if you want to arm a people and you can do it, the people will if you want to arm a people that are aggrieved and by a certain group, and then you come along and you have money and you arm that people and you tell them they're the enemy, go at them, they will do your bidding because they are angry enough to do it. They just didn't have the means to do it. Meaning, if you arm Americans, you can, well, not Americans, but if you arm Germans, they will go to your side. They have power all of a
I
sudden.
don't know about that. Europeans are pretty fucking cucked.
Yeah, they are. And it was by design. These idiots and their liberal, idealist, unrealistic ideas, and they're bringing it here, and they want to disarm Americans. So that is if you want to disarm someone, you immediately turn them against you. Immediately. There's no question about it. But only today's day and age, where people are educated that war and violence is bad, and everyone's a bitch or a pussy, they'll sit down and take it. The Democratic Party. The people that follow the Democratic Party, rather. They're like, yeah, guns are the problem, not people that do it. It's like, are you stupid? If you didn't have a gun, they'd use a chainsaw. If you didn't have a chainsaw, they'd use their fucking wrench. What, now you're going to start putting everyone that works on a construction site in jail? You know what? People with fists can kill people. You can kick someone to death. You can kill someone with a car. You're going to ban those things too? The amount of gun violence was 32,000 deaths in like a year or two ago, and that
Mm-hmm.
includes suicides. So
Well, yeah.
self-inflicted kills by gun. How many people died by vehicle accident? 34,000 last year.
So
Okay?
they should ban guns, right? I mean,
Should
ban
ban
cars.
guns. People can still drive, but let's ban guns. No access.
No, I mean they should ban guns because guns kill more people. People don't like intentionally kill people with cars as often as they do with guns. They should ban guns.
So what about the
It's
kid?
not.
No, you want to ban guns? Go stay in your faggoty Canada.
Yeah.
Okay? Go stay in your Canada. Go to a country that doesn't let you have a weapon to defend yourself.
I mean, I don't know what an AR-15 is gonna do against a fucking predator drone. I mean, you guys are pretty
First
fucked.
of all,
This
the
amendment
people
should
don't have
be.
access to the predator drone, which is a problem.
Yeah.
The arms
I mean,
race is
they
that the
should,
people
dude.
don't have the weaponry. However,
Some fucking drug pusher can afford a freaking predator drone.
so that's
yeah.
modern problem. But today, so you want to have the guy
Yeah,
with
and
the
that
predator?
amendment was written
No.
written in 1700s
Floto.
when they were equally armed with the government.
Floto. The government has has the military, right? The government creates the military and can well, in the U.S., the military can only operate outside the U.S. The police operates inside as well as the
I mean, the
National
U.S.
Guard.
Army can operate inside the borders of the United States if you guys are attacked, and by a threat which your government deems like an external threat, like attacking the government. So if you guys mobilize against your government, the army can attack you.
I don't know about that one.
No, they can't.
All right. Well, okay, we'll go with that. You're right. But in general, they don't get to do that. And so the police, they've been trying to buy off by giving military hardware.
I mean, that's also not true because throughout history, after big surges in military spending, police forces have always stocked up on cheap military surplus. Like, look at the Thompson gun after the Second World War and before the Second World War, because the Thompson gun was put into mass production after the First World War, and they were all cheap because they had mass surpluses.
Criminals used it, and police had to fight criminals.
No, and police bought mass quantities of Thompson guns because they were being built for military surplus, but then that war ended and they were never put into like military hands, so the cops bought them up. It's the same with MRAPs and like fucking ammo and body armor and all this shit. Like look at fucking airframes. Airframes are like cops are like scooping them up because everybody wants an airframe. They look dope as fuck. It's not the government arming them. They still have the exact same budget. They're just buying it because shit's cheap because the war's over. Like the surge stopped in the Middle East. Like shit, you guys gave the Iraqi army like thousands of fucking trucks and tanks and shit. Like stuff's cheap.
We armed them, and then
that
the people
whole thing
failed.
that whole thing that the police are being armed is totally wrong. They're not.
I'm not saying that it is guaranteed because the Muslims didn't have any target. They weren't united. They weren't aggrieved enough to want to use it against something. And then they fled. Their morale broke. They fled before shots were fired. That's not a military. That's not an aggrieved population.
Talking about Iraq?
I'm talking about the fucking people that were given weaponry that fucking fled without destroying the weaponry.
Well, because Iraq's not a real country. No Middle Eastern country is a real country, except like Iran, because they still have a dictator. But no Middle Eastern country is actually a real country.
Yeah, the artificial boundaries, yes. It's a splintered Muslim world, yes. But my point is that you can see that they were not united. They did not feel comfortable enough to go to risk their lives against a power that was just as even less armed. They weren't as well armed, but they were willing to fight and trained. Versus the Iraqis, who were trained, not united, didn't feel threatened enough to be aggrieved enough that, oh, we got great weaponry, let's use it and take back our country. No, they didn't feel that way. But in general, if people are angry enough, if they are angry and you know their anger and you target that person as, yes, go at them, and you give them weapons to do it, they will do it. Jeez, it's 1 o'clock. I gotta go to bed. Good night, guys.
Peace.
User